so I met this guy, and that would have been in 2008, August,
Yeah.
2008. And after that, I started attending Quaker meeting.
Wow. Yeah. Was this guy a Quaker too? Or?
Yeah, he was a
Okay,
Quaker.
great.
He was an atheist, but a Quaker.
Yeah. Well, there is a stream of Quakerism that questions God. Definitely.
Theists.
Yeah.
And I've met a few atheist Quakers because it's about the space.
Yeah. Right.
And so I swore I'd never go back to another Quaker meeting. But this couple who lived in Tiffin, which is not far from here.
Yeah.
On months that had 5 Sundays, they would meet rather than go to Bluffton, which is about an hour's drive. They would meet there. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I went, and sometimes Quaker meeting. So Quaker meeting is mostly silent, though some people will open with a reading or a song, you know, kind of helps sets the tone. And a woman opened with a meditation from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's
Buddhist,
well-known Buddhist. Yeah, died just not long ago. But well-known Buddhist leader.
Yeah, and humanitarian.
Right.
Yeah, anti-war.
And the meditation was, imagine you are a baby bird in a nest. So who are your adult birds? Who are yours? And I realized I had a lot of support, and I kept pulling in these people. So I realized I had more support than I thought.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And
it sounds like really people were looking out for you and caring for you.
Yeah. And so this group would do some kind of discussion afterward. And the intellectual discussion really pulled me in. You know, a lot of Quaker meetings put out books of queries and and they were reading, and I think it was Baltimore yearly meeting, some of the queries and testimonies. It was the testimonies. So
this gets into like Quaker philosophy and practice, and
right, because Quakers deliberately don't have a creed.
That's right.
But testimonies. So people tell some of their stories, tell some of their truth. And that was like, whoa.
Yeah. That must be very different for other Christians to understand. Like, that's very different. That's a very different way to practice.
But I grew up as a storyteller. My dad was a fantastic storyteller. Oral storyteller.
Sure.
But both of my mom's sisters, poets. So I grew up, I've been writing since I was 6. And did mostly creative writing. I did the school newspaper.
Oh, okay.
And
I did the school yearbook. Yes.
Well, at my school, the school newspaper was run by juniors, and the seniors then transferred to the yearbook. Okay. And I refused.
Oh, okay.
I stayed on the paper, and I was the first student that broke tradition.
Yeah, well, if you like making the newspaper, why not? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I had no desire to do the yearbook.
I really like the yearbook because I'm a little impish sometimes, so I like to have a little fun. You know, not anything malicious. You know, I'm just very gentle about it. But I would go around and take like fun snapshots of people, or we had some reindeer. There was some reindeer in town, caribou as well. But I'm just thinking about a particular reindeer, and it would poop around our playground area. This was in grade school, and so I put that in the yearbook, and stuff like that. I mean, just little fun things, Slice of life when you live in the Arctic.
Okay.
Anyway.
But after going to my friend's house and feeling movement, and then afterward, some of the people asked me if I was going to come back. And I said yes, and I came out to these 10, 12 people.
And that was the Quaker meeting?
That was the Quaker meeting.
Nice.
And one of
Did you feel like like you'd found a home or a spiritual home?
Well, one of the men who said 4 very important words. He said, "You are safe here."
Ah, nice. Yeah.
And that I really needed this place of safety because I didn't know what exactly, I thought might be trans. I probably was trans, but this was early days. And those words really, and they did provide a safe community for me. And I didn't even know of any therapists. And so I found someone in Columbus, which is 70 miles south. And depending upon where you're, and a good hour and a half to 2 hours, depending upon where you're going in Columbus.
Sure.
Because Columbus
it's a big city.
It is, geographically, it's huge.
Yeah, right. Midwest, the cities are very spread out.
Yes, Columbus is very spread out.
Yeah.
And it is the biggest in Ohio now. Metropolitan, I don't know how many. It's well over 1 million people.
Right. So you had to go from the rural area into the big city to get
And I found
healthcare.
a therapist who mostly that's all she did.
So that's a 3-hour commute to see a therapist.
Right.
Wow. That's like half the day, at least.
Yeah. And I was very scared, of course. And my friend Matilda went with me the first time.
Yeah.
And because, I didn't know what to expect. But the therapist I saw knew right away. I mean, first time she's like, "Oh yeah, you're trans." I took some of my poetry.
Great. Was it a hospital system that had a specific
No.
trans clinic? Okay.
This
She had
was-
just seen trans people before?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And she would write therapy letters
Okay, great.
and surgery letters.
Sure. Yeah.
And
So just can you explain that a little bit, what those letters are about?
So a lot of doctors, endocrinologists, or doctors who would prescribe hormones, they need proof that you've seen a therapist.
Okay.
And are in fact trans.
Right.
And a surgery letter would be, again, someone who can certify, they've met with you, you're stable.
And that usually is a long process to get those letters. Was that a long process with you?
No.
Historically, it was.
Right.
But it's changed.
Well, it really depends upon the therapist, what I've found. This therapist used to run a support group in Columbus on a Tuesday night.
They knew all that stuff. That's great.
And I had to see her, and she's like, "You have to come to the support group twice." But I had to see her. I had to go to her support group, which she charged $75 a pop per person.
Yeah, trust me, I also paid for everything too.
Well, this was just to attend the support group.
Oh, really? I've never heard of anybody charging for just a support group. But I guess
although after you graduated, then you could go for free.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
after you've graduated.
Well, after you legally.
Sure. Do they give you a special pin or a prize or something? You are a man. I.W. a man.
There was no way I was going to. Okay,
Hi.
There's Leo.
Hi, Kitty. Hi.
Come here, Leo.
He's the star of the show.
One of the ways I knew I was trans. So I was born depressed. And I was born
Is that
anxious.
like a progressive? Is that a prerequisite to being trans?
No, but it explains some things.
Okay. I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of joy in being trans, but
I know, but
there's a lot of hardship too, definitely.
And I don't mean that
I'm just
all
making
trans
fun
people
of you.
are depressed.
I'm making fun of you.
But I always felt not comfortable in my own body.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
And
I know, we're saying this as we're laughing, but
yes, we are.
By the way, I really like your earrings. They're like
Aren't
kind
they?
of a sculpture, like a mini sculpture.
I only got them Friday, and
Okay.
at a jewelry sale
Oh, nice.
at a Catholic church.
Okay. Just like a yard sale kind of thing?
No, it's someone that supports missions, which I feel mixed about, but
Yeah.
it's a fantastic sale.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not wearing the ring. But these earrings, I was utterly astounded.
Yeah. Actually, you're inspiring me to get some earrings. Now, I'm not that fabulous where I'd wear something like that, but I might get some little ones because I do have pierced ears. Maybe I'll just get some little ones.
Well, so the same friend, Matilda,
Mess with people a little bit more because I'm kind of a gruff looking guy, you know. But then, yeah, exactly. So put a little femininity, and I can screw with people even more.
Well, you know, so my friend Matilda,
Yeah,
bless her butt,
yeah.
she told me that men didn't wear dangly earrings.
Okay.
And I believed her, and I gave away most of my collection.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had like 200 pairs.
Well, now you have the opportunity to get some more.
Well, a few years ago, I realized this is stupid. I'm an adult. I can wear whatever I want to wear.
Yeah.
But I will say, at the time, I had a lot more hair.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And also, those comments can sometimes go deeply.
Right.
And sometimes people don't mean for them to go deeply,
No.
but they do.
Well,
Yeah.
And I understood what she meant.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
think it's similar to when people misgender people and then they don't really apologize for it, or they're just like, yeah, but I see you as something else.
Oh, yes.
Like that
But
stuff can go really deeply.
Yeah,
and
you'll
hurt people.
always be Cindy to me.
Yeah, or something, crude like that. It's like, no, you can. In fact, women change their names all the time.
And women
when they get married, so it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Name changes are not that big of a deal.
No, they're not. Though I will say I changed my name.
Yeah, I did too.
Not the last name. I kept the last name. And I kept the middle name. I really liked the middle initial.
Sure.
So I went with the masculine form.
Yeah.
Because I had my mom's middle name.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm.
So it was Jane. So I went with James.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying what the first name was. It was very 60s.
Okay. I have a friend who was named Pumpkin.
No, it wasn't 60s like that. It was very
She changed it to Poppy though when she was 4. She was like, I don't want to be Pumpkin. I want to be Poppy.
It was very popular in the 60s, and it was like a nickname, like Candy.
Sure, I understand. Yeah.
And I never liked it.
I actually had an uncle who, in the 60s, changed his name from Clyde to Jim because there was some song called Clyde the Camel or something, and it was some silly song, and he was like, I'm changing my name.
So my old name, there was a song and a movie.
Okay. All right. Now we get to it.
And someone would sing that damn song.
I'm reading your mind.
But in regards to the earrings, so I gave away most of my collection.
Oh, yeah.
And
I bet some women were happy about that.
Yes, they were. Ironically, one of my friends, her name was Sherry. I'm like, and I came out, and she was like, "Okay, this is good," but I said, "Okay, you get first dibs on the earrings."
Wow.
So she's like, "I was worried about them because I was known for my collection of earrings, funky."
Yeah.
And like I said,
out here in the boonies of Ohio, and fabulous earrings on a on a butch woman turns man.
Right. So
interesting.
So like I said, gave him up, but it was funny. So first thing I did was I cut my hair.
Okay.
Because it was long.
Okay. Like into just a short cut?
Yeah, just a short cut.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
like a man's haircut?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Masculine.
But, yeah. And then it was getting a little shaggy, and one of my friends ran into her childhood friend. And she had a daughter who was like 4.
Okay.
And daughter's staring at me. And finally she's like, "Are you a man? Are you a boy or a girl?" And I'm like, "Oh, boy." And her mom, we did the kind of, boy. No big. And she's still giving me this look. And she's like, but you have long hair.
Oh.
And we laughed. It was shaggy. I mean, it was not long.
Right.
Maybe down to my collar.
Sure.
And,
when was that?
Well, I was already, I don't know. So I started tea.
Okay, so it
was after tea. Okay, yeah.
That's interesting because, I mean, men have had long hair for a long time.
Right. And I had visible facial hair at this point.
Okay.
So I cut it off. And then I'm like, this is stupid. I let it grow after that because I knew testosterone eventually might not be kind to it.
That's right. That's right.
And I wore it long until, I said that I would not do the comb over.
Oh, yeah.
And in retrospect, I said that I would cut it short when it got,
I was never invested in my head hair, but I had a friend who was very invested in his hair. Like, he even did Rogaine and all that stuff.
I did Rogaine.
And he connected with his being a handsome man to have this, like, rock star hair or something. But guess what?
Bald?
Yeah, he lost it. And he has kind of a smaller head. So it kind of looks... I mean, I hate to say that he looks funny, but, he used to have so much pride in his hair that it's almost like he's been knocked down a couple pegs, which I kind of enjoy, I must say.
Well,
because at some point he called trans men boring, bald, fat men or something like that. And I was like, you just called me that, I am not boring.
Well, I'll say before I started tea,
yeah,
I really love to sing.
Oh, yes. That's something that changes.
And I really love my hair.
Oh, yeah.
And a little bit vain about my hair. I mean, not
it's okay.
super vain.
It's okay to,
because I had beautiful hair.
Yeah, it's okay to enjoy stuff like that, sure.
And I realized I would give them up both.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some sacrifices. Yeah.
Well, I can sing.
I can sing too, but it took a really long time.
It did,
to tune my voice back to where it was.
Yeah. So here's a handy tip for trans men out there. So when I was an Episcopalian, I would sing with their choir.
Yeah.
And I kept going back to the Episcopal Church. I still go there occasionally, like if I want a proper Christmas service.
Yeah.
We go there.
Mm-hmm.
And my voice got horrible with the tea,
Yeah.
It would do all those fun cracks and pops, and the next thing you know, you can't talk at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just kind of, my voice just would stop. Like, what just happened?
Or it'd be squeaky.
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden down here, like, what?
Yeah, it's just all over the place. Yeah.
All over the place. And after it kind of settled down, I approached the choir director of that church if he would just work with me.
Yeah.
And so we would meet in the church, and we would basically mainly go over next week's hymns. But the Episcopal hymnal is written out in 4 parts.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Most of the music is in 4 parts.
Yeah.
And so but he would do all the, la 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 la, all the warm-ups, and which are silly, but they help. And about 6 months of that, and I regained control of my voice.
Yeah, mine has been a much longer process. I've never been like any kind of formal singer, and like I said, I'm not a musician.
I'm not.
So, but I haven't even been part of choir or anything like that. So for me, it was a private sort of thing that I've done over the years. And you know what I did? I just mimicked. I started mimicking and trying to sing along with singers who were more in my range instead of my previous range.
Right.
I tried to keep up.
That was hard.
I tried to keep up with my previous range, and it was just like I just can't do it anymore.
No.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can say I've sung all 4 parts in choirs now.
I noticed a lot of progressive churches are really opening up categories in choirs too, like having women singing tenor parts if they feel more comfortable there, having men singing more alto. I really like that. If that's where you're at with your voice, then do it.
Right.
Yeah.
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 But I will say that wearing this kind of stuff and the nail polish. I am more visibly queer now.
Oh yes, of course.
So before, middle-aged white guy.
Yeah, sure.
Going bald and Hawaiian shirts and cargo shirts. I mean, almost the stereotype,
Sure,
So,
sure.
What's funny is I was at this jewelry sale at a Catholic church Friday night. That's where I got these. And I was wearing earrings, and an older woman, she looked old enough to be my mother. She didn't miss a beat. She was like, okay, well, what kind of earrings? And I said, well, if they hit my neck and if they make noise, I'm ecstatic. It's like, earrings make noise? I'm like, yeah.
Well, that sounds very 80s, actually, like the geometric shapes and, hanging.
Yeah. Well, we're both children of the 80s.
That's right.
But yeah, these are quite long. But it's funny, and she's like, well, you should trim the beard back a little bit so people can see it better.
Or wear brighter ones or something. You could do whatever you want.
I have quite the collection now.
Okay.
It doesn't help that one of our neighbors has sort of a perpetual garage sale.
Sure. Oh, sure.
I mean, well, that's how she makes a living. She buys
it's
lots of things.
Yeah.
Well,
it's part of the economic survival right now is kind of this patchwork of things that people do like that. Yeah.
Well, and she bought a whole big thing of paparazzi earrings, which is a brand.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh. And I started wearing, I was wearing already bigger earrings, but at first they couldn't be too girly. And like when I started doing nails, they couldn't be too girly. I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
Now I don't care.
Yeah, who cares? I mean, who's going to question you anyway? I mean, come on. And you're from here. It's not like you're, somebody passing through or whatever. I mean, you're from here.
But I love it when I get compliments on the nails or the earrings. And,
who compliments you, by the way?
More women.
Okay, yeah. Do you ever get compliments from men about it?
Yes.
Okay.
Occasionally. Though I had a very weird encounter not very long ago.
Okay.
The guy looked at my nails like, oh, nice. It's like, normally I wear nail polish too. I'm like, yeah, okay. I said, well, normally I'm wearing big clunky earrings too. And he's like, he was wearing earrings.
Was he like goth or something? Or?
Well, like the earring was like a shark tooth.
Oh, okay.
And so I wasn't clear.
There's also like a heavy metal.
Yeah, and I think it was more that.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, is he flirting with me?
Who knows?
Well, and then we started having this conversation. I don't even know how it got there. But he said, men who wear dresses are still men. Mm-hmm. But he was talking about trans women.
Oh, I see. Oh.
So I looked at him. I said,
bummer.
So am I a man? Well, yeah. I'm like, not by your definition.
Yeah.
And then he fist bumped me like it's the best thing ever. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened here?
Yeah, that's so strange.
It was very strange.
So he went from bigot to friend in like 2 seconds. Or maybe he just didn't understand.
No, he understood that I was trans.
Okay. And this guy was wearing earrings and said he used to paint his nails.
Well, yeah, he said they often paints his nails.
Okay, well,
very
odd.
He wears purple. It was specific that a certain nail.
Sure.
It's purple.
Okay.
But it gave off more he didn't look goth, but maybe metal.
Yeah, maybe metal rock or whatever. But that metal and rock and all that has also always played with gender. That's the long tradition. That's what makes it, part of what makes it interesting.
Right. Like David Bowie, Freddie Mercury.
How can you, hold like bigoted ideas and do it yourself?
Right. To go from trans women are men to fist bumping me for being trans.
So strange.
It was very odd. And then I posted that on Facebook, and I was kind of surprised at the responses I got. From some of my friends, like, oh, how brave of you. I'm like,
not really. You were just in the situation.
But I come out to people.
Oh, I see.
Over and over and over again. I
see.
A friend of mine called it one of my gifts.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because I just look like another middle-aged white dude.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
and then I come out as trans or queer.
Yeah. I sometimes do in the context of this project, actually, because I've been traveling around a lot. And some people ask me, so why are you traveling around? And I make a choice sometimes to tell them.
Yes.
Like, exactly what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't, just because I don't want to get in a conversation or something. But sometimes I do. And I make a point of saying, you know, I'm talking to trans people. We're talking about, you know, some of the state oppression that's going on, identity, beliefs, religion, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And something else I'm going to say that makes me a little different than a lot of trans men.
Yeah.
Is I haven't had top surgery.
Uh-huh.
They're still there.
Yeah.
They're still visible.
Yeah.
But most people see beard.
Yeah.
And they don't look beyond that.
Right. And
which sucks for trans women.
But also a lot of bigger guys do have big chests.
Right. So I am more visible as a bigger dude who still has a bigger chest.
Yeah.
And I want other trans guys to know,
yeah,
hey, if you want to let them be for God's sakes.
Yeah. And
just be you.
And you're like you were just saying, you don't bind all that much, or,
no.
You know, rarely. And then you wear earrings and you let your voice do what it wants to do, and you sing in different, you know, and then you paint your nails and you get compliments on that. I mean, sounds great.
I will say, so as someone who's seen a lot of medical people, and it's been really interesting. So I've seen in smaller hospitals and in some bigger hospitals, and mostly the hospital staff, all the medical people are great. I had a weird...
Is this up in Toledo or down in Columbus?
None in Columbus, some in Toledo. Bellevue, which is a smaller city about an hour from here. That's where I had the foot surgery.
Okay.
Tiffin, Fostoria. So I've seen medical people all around, and it's very interesting. Most of them, they really don't care.
About the trans part.
Yeah.
Great.
Some are...
That's professional, right? If it has nothing to do with what you're doing, then it's just another aspect of you.
I will educate if they... one of my doctors, a hematologist. Because T raises your hemoglobin.
That's right.
And they were a little bit higher than my doctor wanted, so she sent me to a hematologist.
Yeah, that's called secondary polycythemia.
Right.
Yeah, if it's really high. Yeah.
And the doctor did not know much about trans. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You can... He asked if he could have the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'd let him have it.
Yeah.
But same doctor, someone on his staff, misgendered me horribly.
Like knowingly.
I think so, yeah, because the nails, she saw the nails, painted nails, and she's like, well, men don't do. I'm like, yeah, men can do whatever they want. And then she made a very inappropriate... She was basically asking me about what I have down there. No. Yes. And it was so unsettling.
That person should be fired, frankly.
Well, it was... I wish I would have told the doctor right then. Yeah. I did not.
It's hard because you're in the situation and it feels traumatic, but then what do you do about it?
Well, a couple days later, I sent the doctor an email.
Yeah.
I told him what happened.
Yeah.
I named the person.
Yeah.
And said, she said this. And it was very inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I also, a lot of doctors...
That's not her job. That's not
right.
Her,
a lot of medical people, you'll get a survey like a couple days later. I, again, on the survey, named her and said this was very inappropriate.
Yeah.
A couple days later, I get a phone call from someone in one of the higher ups in the
like HR or something.
Yeah. And asked what happened. I told her.
Yeah.
And she's like, what she apologized. She's like, that was very inappropriate. And, I said, I don't want her fired. I said, just She's like, someone will
I want her
talk to.
fired.
Okay, that's fair.
I want her
well,
fired.
Well, and what gets me is,
You're more generous.
well, but it makes me wonder because so hematologists are often oncologists.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so I actually go to the hematologist is actually in the cancer support center.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder, did this woman say inappropriate things to cancer patients?
Right. Yeah.
Because that really makes me wonder.
Yeah, because people who will say that sort of thing, like that's part of their behavior. That's part of their normal behavior to do stuff like that. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I get you. I hear you on that.
You know, I do go out of my way to educate people.
Yeah.
I have gone to a local medical school and educated students.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so...
That's a really important form of activism, by the way. Yeah.
Right.
Very
so
important.
they no longer do it.
Yeah.
But because they changed something but they bring in LGBTQ people and the students, small groups. You do small groups and big groups. And you tell your bit of your story and the students ask questions.
Yeah.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because some of the students ask the best questions. I do go out of my way to educate, especially medical people.
Yeah. Yeah. Why would you? I mean, it's part of your medical history.
Right.
So I do that as well. I tell doctors, even if my appointment isn't trans-specific, because it's part of my history.
Right.
But I've had some doctors, even in supposedly cool places like San Francisco Bay Area, after that I tell them that, yeah, I've had this happen before. They tell me that they can't treat me because I'm a trans person, even though the medical care had nothing to do with being trans.
Yes, and I've heard about that.
Oh, yes. It's very common. Yeah.
I am just saying I've been incredibly lucky.
Yeah. Well, that's a form of activism, by the way, that you do that you're so open in these medical situations, because there's a history of trans people having to hide things.
Right. And, you know, I do my mammograms and now it's like, you got to watch out for the beard. Good. And I'd say it jokingly.
And pap smears and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I was having a lot of pelvic issues and I was taking my sister to a local gynecologist. I said, just ask him if he'll see me.
Yeah. Right.
And his response was, well, if he has the parts, I'll look at him.
Awesome. Great.
And he believed me when I kept saying I had this issue.
Yeah.
It was just pelvic pain.
Yeah.
And it turned out, and this is, I talked to a doctor who is over at Cleveland Clinic. It's a common...
Oh, okay.
For people of any gender, of any sex, to have problems with their pelvic floor.
Oh, yes, right. That's right.
But then people are embarrassed or ashamed because they have pain.
Right.
Or problems. And for God's sakes, go... Because I suffered for like 2 years.
Imagine being a trans person and going in...
Well, and then I had to go to a women's... Specifically, a women's hospital. Specifically... the chronic pelvic pain clinic at a women's hospital.
Right, yeah.
Do you know how awful that was?
I can have a feeling about that. Yeah. I have had to see, even though I've had hysterectomy, etc., relatively recently, I had to go to a gynecologist because they were the only doctor in town pretty much that would prescribe hormones in a very conservative place. So, and of course, insurance didn't pay for it because I'm a man and I went to a gynecologist, even though that shouldn't matter.
Well, so in that regard, my insurance, I have to come out every time.
Yeah, right.
Because my insurance counts me as female. Otherwise, I don't get mams and paps.
Right, yeah.
Which is important. You have the parts, you have to take care of them.
And in this day and age, these insurance companies should just pass it. Just pass it, you know.
I just think it shouldn't even be a thing.
No, it shouldn't be a thing because if you need the care, then you need the care, you know.
Right. And anybody can get breast cancer.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew a cis man who had it.
Yeah.
And he became sort of an activist.
That's right. That's right.
Because cis men get breast cancer too.
That's right. That's right.
And his doctor did not take him seriously.
Yeah. 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 And it's arguably more deadly in men because it's not they don't check for the symptoms.
Right.
They don't do exams.
He was very lucky. It was encapsulated, so it did not spread.
Okay.
But he had it for a year, and the doctor did not take him seriously. So he had to have a mastectomy, and he had to do
right
treatment.
Right. Because men do have breast tissue. They
right.
do. They have the same ducts. We're all mammals. That's why men have nipples. Yeah.
Right. So, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Here
you have a trans person saying, they go and have pap smears and, gynecological care and also breast exams. So I got to hand that to you. That's really great because a lot of trans people, due to trauma, due to discrimination, will avoid care. So thank you so much for modeling what is a good example of taking care of yourself.
Well, I will say that I went to a gynecologist once when I was in my early 20s and never went back until my 40s.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad that you decided that was a good thing to do. That you could go back to a doctor to take care of yourself.
Luckily, my primary care doc said she would do the pelvic.
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't. And she's like, okay, we do the pelvic. And my current primary care doc will do that if I asked her.
Yeah.
But when I was having the problems, I sought the gynecologist.
Yeah.
Because my primary care doc tried her best to figure it out. She thought maybe ovarian cysts.
Yeah. And the problem is, there's many problems here, is that when you're ill too, or if you have something that is not obvious but you're in pain, it's so hard to advocate for yourself.
Right.
And advocating for yourself as a trans person is so difficult. It's so difficult.
Well, yeah. And here I'm having, it felt like menstrual pain.
Right.
Cramps.
And that can be dysphoric as well.
Right.
For a lot of men. Yeah. Trans men.
But my primary care doc did a pelvic exam, did not find anything, sent me for a transvaginal ultrasound.
Okay.
Thinking ovarian cysts.
Yeah.
No. So then like another year goes by, finally I asked the gynecologist, my sister's gynecologist, and I started seeing him. He did a pelvic, nothing out of the ordinary, did a CT scan, nothing. But he's like, Aaron, I believe you. He's like, I don't know what this is, but I need to figure out who I can send you to.
Yeah.
So he sent me.
That's great that you had a doctor on your side.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was the one who sent me to University of Michigan.
Yeah. A lot of trans people and just, people in general have to convince their doctors to help them.
Right. Because this is just pain. There's no other.
Yeah. Right.
Symptoms.
But pain is an important symptom. It's why we have pain.
Well, it's invisible.
To indicate that something's wrong.
So my dizziness is invisible too because I don't stagger.
Right.
I've never fallen because of it.
Yeah.
So they have to believe me.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you have some good health care. That's wonderful.
Yeah. In Podunk, Ohio, people,
That's right.
it's
That's
possible.
Right. But also, you're an active participant in making that happen. And it sounds like you have some good people around you who are helping you as well, and some support like your sister's doctor. And I'm so impressed with you, but then also the people around you seem to be really caring for you, and I really like that.
Yes, it took some people a while to come around.
Yeah.
But nearly everyone did.
Yeah, because they love you. They care for you.
Well, I hope I do the same.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine.
You're right.
You have a very good spirit. I'm imagining that you give back plenty.
Thank you for the reminder. Once I kind of knew I was trans, I couldn't unknow it, and I've been pretty open. I've been very open about it.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah, open to everybody.
Yeah. And in some ways, not everybody has to be as open as you are or as open as I am, but it's really helpful. in the bigger picture, and also in your own communities. When people know trans people, it's so much more difficult to hate us.
Yes.
I mean, obviously both of us are very bubbly. We're having a good time here with this interview and smiling, and life is a challenge, definitely. We both have challenges, but to look at us and then to have some hatred, I would wonder what's going on there.
And what you just said, I always say I come out to people because the more likely you are to know a trans person,
that's right,
the less likely you are to discriminate against us.
They did all kinds of studies around gay people around that too, and they found that was the case, and it probably is the case for trans people as well. I mean, it's basic, sympathy, it's compassion, it's knowing, it's all that stuff.
My dad thought I was crazy until he met other trans people.
Yeah.
And saw how normal we are.
Right. And some of us are really fabulous and creative. Some of us are kind of boring and just doing whatever, working, not working, having families. You live in this sweet little house with your sister, and I'm out on the road, and you're in the meeting house, and I sometimes go to meeting house, but not that often. And but I have my own thing that I do. Sorry, this little fly loves you.
I guess I'm sweet.
Yes. What loves me is mosquitoes. And I'll tell you, if you live in Alaska,
mosquitoes love me too.
Oh, yeah.
And we have them because we have some low-lying land.
Oh, yeah.
And woods back there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah. There's just so much diversity among trans people, and so much beauty, and so much... we've all had to come up with a lot of survival tactics and ways to access resources that are very difficult to access. So in some ways, we're kind of like this model of what it's like to be a survivor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I saw S. Bear Bergman. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they were keynote speaker.
Bergman, yes.
Bergman,
yeah.
Yeah. One of their books, it's just fabulous, but I'm blanking on the name. But anywho, they said that one of the best things about the trans community is we create space and then we pull the others behind us. We make it easier. We try to make it easier for the people coming up, which is why I help facilitate a trans support group in Toledo.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember my first support group, I was terrified.
Yeah.
And a woman's like, "Oh, honey, if you can't be yourself here, you can't be yourself anywhere."
That's right. I always when I was going to a lot of peer groups, I actually really love them. I don't go to them so much anymore. But when I was going to them when I was younger, I really loved them, especially the mixed ones, which were like trans women and trans men together. There weren't a lot of non-binary people who were, self-identifying that way back then, but because I loved hearing the trans women's experience, which I was completely ignorant of, right, as a trans man, because those experiences are very different. There's some connections, definitely.
Right.
But I loved getting out of these peer groups that were just trans men, and it was just kind of the same story over and over, to hearing what it was like on the other side of things. I really loved that.
The first trans support group I went to,
yeah,
I had this knee-jerk reaction to trans women.
Oh, okay.
Like, God, what is wrong with them? And I'm like,
why?
And I realized it was my own.
Yes.
And I'm like, so what is wrong here?
Yes. Well, interestingly enough, if we experience that, it makes sense that cisgendered people would also be a little bit confused sometimes about what we're going through. But it's a point where there can be education and sympathy over those,
Which is one of the reasons I open myself to this.
That's right.
If y'all search the Toledo Blade, you'll find I was featured in an article.
Oh, I'll link to it.
Some years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not the star of the show.
Oh, that's fine.
But they discuss my story.
Sure.
And Friends Journal, that's a Quaker magazine. I don't know if you know that.
Mm-hmm.
I was at our yearly meeting. And this man, Scott Miller, had this knee-jerk reaction to me because he never thought much of trans people. And so I got to the meeting and I got misgendered almost as soon as I got there. And I'm like, what the, and it really bothered me. So luckily I was able to connect to that person who misgendered me.
This little fly, this fucking fly.
And I said, what is going on with that? He's like, I knew you were trans. I couldn't remember which way you were headed.
Okay. So he was trying to be helpful, but he was doing the exact wrong thing.
Yes.
Okay. That's where asking questions,
right.
asking pronouns, etc.
It would have
really
made
important.
It so much easier.
Yes.
Than making me horribly dysphoric.
Yes. Right.
But then, and in that, before I talk to him, we do worship sharing. So that's where you're given a query and people speak their truth into the silence.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily responding to other people.
Yeah.
And and it was something about resources.
I want to kill this fucking fly. Sorry. Sorry. I may have scared it away.
Did you kill it?
No, but I may have scared it away.
Where's the cats? Catch the flies when you need them. Because cats will catch flies.
Or where is the spider to catch the fly? My oh my. Anyway, so start over again a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went to our yearly meeting. That's sort of, and right away I got misgendered.
Oh, you don't have to go back that far.
Okay, that far.
Yeah.
But so worship sharing. Anywho, this man had an epiphany about something I said. And at meeting for worship, I then, had a complete change in attitude. And I'm like, and I don't know what I said, but I stood up in meeting and spoke, which for those don't know about Quaker meeting, only sometimes it's in silence the whole time.
Yeah.
And you are only supposed to speak if you are pulled to your feet.
Yeah.
By the Spirit.
By the Spirit, right.
And I said something, I don't remember what I said, but and we often worship with our eyes closed.
Yeah.
And Scott is sitting next to me and he's like, and he thanked me. He had this major epiphany about trans people. So a few months later, I don't think anything of it. He's like, hey, we need to write an article for Friends Journal. So it appeared.
Oh, wow.
It is. So if you look for Aaron Reinhardt and...
Is that online?
Yeah, you can find it online.
I'll try and find it and put a link to it.
Yeah.
To the video. Yeah.
Transforming Prejudice. What is it? It's something about transforming prejudice into love.
Okay.
It's a really amazing piece.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely going to read it. Definitely. Yeah.
Because he'd known other queer people and he had queer friends, but he didn't think much of trans people until he met me.
Yeah, it's interesting how people are sometimes making that distinction. Oh, yeah, gay people, I'm okay with that, but these trans people, I'm not so sure. Like, what is that about? I mean,
right, we're not
we're not alien. I mean, we're not from like another planet or something. I mean, we're your neighbors and your
right
siblings and sometimes your parents and your church going members and
right. And so yeah, I've appeared in Friends Journal twice now.
Oh, awesome. The
other was a poem because I wrote that piece.
Yeah.
Friends Journal often does theme pieces, the whole thing.
Right.
So I was invited to submit poetry.
Oh, okay.
So I have a poem.
Great. Yeah. You're a published poet.
Just once.
It's okay that you're still a published poet.
Yes. I come from, yeah.
I was published in Harvard Magazine for a couple of interviews that I did of alumni, and so I put that out there. Sure, I'm a published writer. So I have another interview today that I have to run off on. So how
should we end it?
I don't know. I kind of just want to hang out and
drink
some more coffee and and get to know your cats and your guinea pigs here. Yeah, I have to run off though. I'm amazed. There's been a really positive response to my project here in Ohio and Kentucky and Oklahoma. So next spring, I might come back, but
I might
make
be
another
able to
loop.
hook you up.
Yeah,
with other
definitely.
people.
It's nice too to talk to somebody who's like a little bit similar to me.
Oh, right. We're
Right?
similar ages.
Yeah, similar ages, and we both love our beards. Although mine is extremely short. Mine is at the stubble. Mine is at the fall stubble stage.
I actually trimmed mine a little bit today, so
Okay.
it would look better.
Well, your ringlets at the bottom I love them.
Aren't they
it's like,
impressive?
It almost plaits itself.
You should see it when they're wet.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
even more so.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, mine just kind of goes down in zigzags like this.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda
Mine
like
is very curly.
Kind of like the old Assyrian statues from a long time ago. Like it's just like, or the Greeks or whatever. It's kind of like that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, end it.
Yeah, end it. Anyway. I want to hug you.
We can hug me.